my name's Kirk. If I had to use one word that would describe my life before Christ, it would be superficial. I grew up in a home with a mom who loved the Lord, loved people, and she raised my brothers and I in that manner. She would take us to church every Sunday. She would read from the Bible. She would tell us how we ought to live. So consequently, I grew up knowing about God. I got into high school and started making some poor choices, started kind of exploring, doing the things that just life would present, and developed some pretty superficial relationships, pretty superficial choices that I was making, poor choices that had severe consequences. And when I got into college, it kind of started to manifest itself in a little bit more of an explicit way. All my friends were gone. They had chosen different paths that led them away from me. I was pretty lonely. My girlfriend of 3.5 years that I thought I was going to marry decided she didn't want to be with me anymore, and my heart was broken. Paired with the fact that I was flunking school because of those things put me in a downward spiral, in a pretty depressed state. I was pretty lonely. And one day I was on campus and I was walking through a student involvement fair, all these different student groups from around campus, one of which was Crew. And this mission organization I knew nothing about. But I filled out an information card, and a guy followed me up, said I'd love to get in touch with you. And we sat down outside the Student Union building, and he asked me what was going on in my life, was genuinely interested in me. And I had a lot of good questions, they were piercing questions, and at the end he asked me kind of a silly question. He said, are you a Christian? I said, yeah. And he challenged me, he said, why? And I said, because I go to church, because I read my Bible. Kind of a superficial answer, really, because I do the deed, I do the things that Christians are supposed to do. He shared with me one verse in response to that it was more than just the superficial attitude. He said that it's about a relationship, and he shared with me this verse in 2 Timothy 1:12, where Paul says to Timothy, this is why I'm suffering, but I'm not ashamed, because I know whom I have believed, and I'm convinced that he is able to guard what I have entrusted to him until that day. And he said there was one word that changed the whole meaning of that verse, and it's that Paul knew whom he believed, not merely what he believed. And so I went home that night, and a realization of my superficiality, that I had known about God, but I had never really known God. And so I got down on my knees, and I just prayed in the quiet of my own room, God, I'm tired of knowing about you. I just want to know you, so would you come into my life and make me who you want me to be? My life took on a new trajectory after that. It wasn't immediate, it was a slow turn, but I developed purpose and perspective. And I grew in my relationship. I spent time reading the Bible and praying with others and connecting with other guys. And it was a life-changing experience. So much so that a few years later I decided to go on staff and work with that same mission organization. And now, 18 years later, I have the privilege of sharing that same message of hope, of a relationship with students on a college campus. So if there was one word I could use to describe my life after Christ, it would be authentic. Thanks for listening to my story. Let me know if you have any thoughts.